Morning came, and the office was already busy. Workers rushed in and out, dressed in sharp suits and elegant dresses, carrying files, typing on their phones, and discussing deals. But in the middle of all this, one person stood out, though no one paid her any attention. A cleaner, hunched over, dragging a mop and bucket across the floor. Her uniform was oversized, dull, and loose-fitting. A cheap wig sat awkwardly on her head, and a cap hid most of her face. She moved slowly, wiping the floor with quiet focus, as if she wanted to disappear into the background. Then, the elevator doors slid open. The entire office fell silent. Someone whispered urgently, "The boss is here." Within seconds, workers straightened their ties, fixed their skirts, and adjusted their glasses. Then he stepped out. Adrian Cole, the billionaire, the CEO, the man whose name carried power, tall, confident, sharp. His suit looked more expensive than some people's annual salary. His shoes clicked softly as he walked, his presence commanding attention. He didn't glance at the cleaner. To him, she didn't exist. But under that cap, her eyes followed him. So this is him, she thought, gripping her mop tightly. She quickly shook the thought away. I'm lucky to work here. Her thoughts were interrupted when another cleaner passed by, shaking her head. You're still on this. Better hurry up, unless you want trouble today. The cleaner nodded quickly, returning to her work, keeping her head down. I am trying my best. I will be done shortly. At the Kingsley mansion. That evening, in a grand dining room filled with luxury, Victoria Kingsley sat with her parents and Adrian. The air was warm with the scent of expensive wine and roasted meat, but Victoria barely noticed. Her parents were excited, speaking with Adrian about the wedding plans. Her mother smiled. The wedding should happen soon. There's no need to wait, right? Adrian, always smooth, nodded with a charming smile. Of course, Ma. I'm ready whenever Victoria is. Victoria lifted her wine glass, her lips curving slightly. She placed the glass down and looked at Adrian. Actually, I think we should wait. The room fell silent. Her mother's smile faded. Her father's fork paused mid-air. Adrian's confident expression stiffened for a split second before he quickly recovered. Wait, he asked, voice calm. Victoria nodded, still smiling. Yes, I just want to take my time and study you more before we marry. We barely know each other. Or do you think otherwise? Adrian's jaw tightened slightly, but then he let out a short laugh, smooth as ever. Of course, darling, anything you want. Victoria took another sip of her wine. That's my thought and I think it's right. Adrian, now deep in thought, watched her closely. The next day, Adrian entered his office, pulling off his tie with a sigh. The wedding delay was an irritation, but he could handle it. He walked toward his desk, then stopped. Someone was inside, a cleaner, bent over, wiping his desk. His brows furrowed. Did I ask you to clean here? The cleaner flinched, her shoulders stiffening. Slowly, she turned around, keeping her head low. Sorry, sir, she whispered. Her voice was soft and nervous. Adrian frowned, waving a dismissive hand. Just hurry up and leave. The cleaner nodded quickly, grabbing her mop. As she turned away, Adrian asked, by the way, what's your name? The cleaner responded politely. My name is Sharon. A small smile formed on her lips. Adrian nodded. Okay, get out. As she stepped out of the office, she muttered to herself, I'm winning my boss' favor already. Adrian leaned back in his chair, staring blankly at the ceiling. I thought I'd be a married man in less than a month, he muttered to himself, frustration creeping into his voice. Everything had been going perfectly. The Kingsleys were on board. The engagement was public. That soon, I would be married into one of the wealthiest families in the country. But then Victoria decided to change the plan. "What is she doing wasting our time?" he mumbled, rubbing his temples. Then, his phone vibrated on the desk. He glanced at the screen. "It's Dad." Adrian sighed heavily before answering. "Hello, Dad." His father's voice came through, firm and impatient. "What's the plan? When is the date? I need to communicate with my friends." Adrian sat up, gripping the phone tighter. His tone dropped, cold and controlled. "Dad, we haven't fixed a date yet. Victoria wants us to take our time. She insists we should know each other better first." There was silence, then a long, frustrated sigh from his father. "This is another problem to deal with. That girl is difficult, and we don't have much time. How are we handling this?" Adrian's lips curled into a small, calculated smile. "Dad, just trust me. I will handle it, because I always do. Relax, Dad. Victoria would come around." A few hours later, Adrian stood at the front of a large conference room, arms crossed, scanning the faces of his employees. The entire staff had been gathered, from the top executives to the cleaners, all standing in neat rows. His voice was calm, but firm as he spoke. "My fiancée is coming here tomorrow at exactly 12 noon. A wave of whispers spread through the room. "As all of you know, she's the only daughter of Kingsley Empire, one of the wealthiest families in this country." His sharp gaze swept over the staff, silencing the murmurs instantly. "I do not want any mistakes. Everything must be perfect. I expect every one of you to be on your best behavior." Heads nodded. "That includes cleanliness. I want this office and its surroundings spotless." Then, he turned slightly and looked toward the cleaning staff. His eyes landed on one particular cleaner, Sharon. The young woman in the oversized uniform froze, gripping the handle of her mop tightly. "You will be responsible for my office. I like your perfection. If every worker in this company had your level of dedication, this place would be flawless." A small gasp came from the other cleaners. Sharon, still keeping her head low, gave a slight nod. "Yes, sir," she answered, her voice steady but soft. Adrian's expression remained unreadable. "I hope I've made myself clear." The entire staff nodded in unison. "Good. Get back to work." As the employees filed out, some whispering in hushed voices, Sharon gripped her mop tighter, her heartbeat slightly faster than before. She had earned the boss's trust, and she decided to play her part well. The Kingsley mansion was usually peaceful, but tonight, tension filled the air. In the grand sitting room, Veronica paced back and forth, her heels clicking against the marble floor. Victoria, on the other hand, sat calmly on the couch, sipping tea as if the conversation didn't concern her, but it did. And her mother was furious. "I still don't understand why you're delaying your wedding with Adrian." Veronica snapped. "A reliable and homely man is not easy to come by. Wasting Adrian's time is very risky." Victoria smiled and set her cup down gently. "Mom, I'm fine. I just want to marry him based on my own findings, not just your recommendation." Veronica flared up instantly. "Your findings," she repeated, her voice rising. "What do you even know about marriage that you're talking about findings? How many years of experience do you have?" Victoria's smile faded, and she frowned. "Are you seriously asking me that question, Mom?" she said, crossing her arms. "Do I need experience before I study the man I want to spend my life with?" Veronica folded her arms, shaking her head. "Marriage is not something you study in school," she said sharply. "You can't fully understand any man when you like his looks and social status. You make the relationship official. After that, you both figure things out as husband and wife." Victoria leaned forward slightly, her tone firm. "Mom, I don't want to go that way. I choose to do this my own way." Veronica's eyes narrowed as her temper flared. "Everyone is waiting to hear the wedding date. Whatever it is you think you're doing, do it fast. Victoria smirked, picking up her tea again, noted, Mom, I already told Adrian that I'll be in his office tomorrow. Veronica exhaled sharply, clearly not satisfied with that response, but Victoria had already shifted her focus back to her tea. The next morning, Adrian Cole arrived at the office earlier than usual. He walked into his office and, as expected, found Sharon cleaning. The faint scent of disinfectant filled the air as she wiped the glass table with slow, careful movements without looking up. She said, Your office will be ready in a moment, sir. I didn't know you'd be early today. Adrian smiled slightly, loosening his tie. I came early purposely to meet you here working. Sharon paused for a second before continuing her cleaning. Adrian walked over to his desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out a small stack of documents and a few framed photos. I need you to hide these in an old safe in the storage room, he said, handing them to her. My fiancée may want to get comfortable in my office, and I don't want her stumbling on them. Sharon hesitated, her hands brushing against the smooth paper. Oh, okay, sir. Adrian's tone lowered, as if speaking to himself. I need to stay safe and alert. Sharon nodded slowly, gripping the items. Without another word, she turned and left the office, her steps quiet but steady. As she disappeared down the hallway, a small smirk formed on her lips. Adrian sat in his office, his eyes constantly flicking to the clock. He had even set an alarm for 30 minutes before Victoria's arrival, just to ensure he was fully prepared. The alarm rang, smiling. He quickly stopped it. My fortune will be here soon. He adjusted his tie, brushed off imaginary dust from his suit, and placed some transaction documents strategically on his desk, where Victoria could easily see them. Just then, his phone buzzed. A message from Victoria. His face lit up with joy as he tapped on the screen. But in a second, his smile vanished. What? What insult is this? What type of human being is this girl? Frowning deeply, he immediately dialed her number. The number you have dialed is not reachable. He tried again, and again, still nothing. Frustrated, he dialed his father's number. As soon as the call connected, Sharon entered with a file. Adrian gestured for her to wait, focusing on the call. Yes, Dad. Did you see the message that idiot sent me? His father's voice was cold and firm. We are too close to back out now. I need success. Don't allow that little brat to toy with us. Adrian laughed scornfully. Exactly, Dad. She's just a little brat. I will handle her. My pressure will be on her parents. She will come around. He ended the call and turned his sharp gaze to Sharon, who had been standing there patiently. His voice was icy. Why are you here? Sharon bowed slightly. Sir, I came to remind you about the guest we are expecting. It's already 45 minutes past the time. Perhaps you could call her. Adrian's expression hardened. Are you serious? Is that why you came here? Would you get out of my office before I slap you? Sharon flinched but turned to leave quickly. Just as she reached the door, Adrian's voice snapped her back. Wait, what's that file in your hand? Sharon swallowed hard. Her voice was slightly shaky as she replied. I wrote down the same message I just delivered verbally in case I wasn't allowed into your office. Adrian's anger spiked. His jaw tightened. His fingers curled into a fist. Get out before I put you behind bars. Without another word, Sharon hurried out, closing the door gently behind her. But as soon as she stepped into the hallway, a small, knowing smile crept onto her lips. She had just witnessed a very interesting side of Adrian Cole. A few hours later, Victoria drove down to Adrian's office unannounced. No one recognized her, which was exactly how she wanted it. As she approached the front desk, the receptionist flashed a polite smile. Welcome, madam. Mr. Adrian is very busy and can't attend to anyone at the moment." Victoria arched a brow, smirking. "Young woman, it's because you don't know me. If you delay me here, you might just find yourself submitting your resignation letter by lunchtime." The receptionist blinked, confused. Excuse me." Victoria didn't wait for her to figure it out. She reached for the office door and pushed it open. "Ma'am, wait," the receptionist yelped, scrambling to stop her, but it was too late. Inside, Adrian was busy, and not the going through important documents kind of busy. He was locked in a deep, steamy kiss with a woman sitting on his desk, his hands resting comfortably on her waist. For a second, nobody moved. The only sound in the room was the faint ticking of the wall clock and the receptionist's gasp of horror. Adrian, whose lips were still attached to the lady, slowly opened his eyes when he saw Victoria standing at the door. His entire body stiffened like he had been electrocuted. His eyes bulged, his mouth fell open, except, in doing so, he almost swallowed the lipstick stain she left on his lips. The woman, oblivious to the incoming disaster, smiled seductively and trailed her fingers along his jaw. That was. Adrian suddenly shoved her off his lap. She stumbled, barely catching herself, and looked up in shock. "Adrian, what the hell?" Meanwhile, Victoria remained calm. The kind of calm that sent shivers down a guilty man's spine. She gave him a slow, knowing smile. "Oh, I didn't know you were in the middle of another business. See you later." And just like that, she turned on her heels and walked out. Adrian froze for a second. His brain refused to function. Then, like a man suddenly waking up from a coma, he jumped up so fast his chair went flying backward. "Victoria, wait," he called, but she was already gone. Now, all that remained was an awkward silence, and two very unfortunate people still in his office. His mistress pouted, crossing her arms. "Why did you push me like that? That hurt." Adrian glared at her like she was a plague. "Get out." "Excuse me. Are you throwing me out because of that thing? Out. Out of my office. Now." He snapped, pointing at the door like an exorcist banishing a demon. The woman scoffed but grabbed her purse and stormed out. Adrian ran his hands through his hair, frustration evident on his face. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Then his eyes landed on the receptionist. She was standing awkwardly by the door, looking like she wanted the ground to swallow her whole. Adrian's gaze darkened. "And you," he growled. The receptionist gulped. "Sir, why did you let her in? Are you stupid?" The poor woman panicked. "Yes, sir. She walked past me so fast Get out of my sight," he roared. She bolted like a rabbit running from a predator. Now, alone in his office, Adrian sank into his chair, gripping his head. He had just been caught red-handed, and knowing Victoria, she wouldn't let this slide. His phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and felt his stomach drop. It was a text from Victoria. "Dinner at my place. Don't be late. Our wedding plan starts today." Adrian swallowed hard. This is bad. This is very bad. What's she up to? Victoria stood in the grand kitchen, watching as the chef and his team moved swiftly, preparing the night's dinner. Her voice was calm but firm. "I want you to give me your best today. The dinner tonight must be handled professionally. I want Adrian to feel really good." The chef nodded respectfully. "We will do our best, Ma." Later that evening, Adrian arrived later than usual. His face looked dull, his steps sluggish, and his mind restless. He was expecting the worst. As dinner began, Victoria's mother, Veronica, noticed his gloomy expression. Her eyebrows furrowed as she asked, "Adrian, what's wrong?" Before he could respond, Victoria smoothly cut in. He's just having a slight headache, but he'll be fine." Adrian glanced at her, surprised. Victoria then placed her fork down, looked at Adrian, then at her parents. Her voice was steady. "I invited Adrian here to inform him, and you as well, that I am ready for our wedding. Let the wedding plans begin." Adrian froze. Her parents' eyes widened in shock. Veronica and her husband chorused in disbelief. "Wedding?" Victoria nodded confidently. "Yes, Mom, I love him very much. He should hurry and make me his wife." For a moment, silence filled the room. Then, Adrian gave a small, uncertain smile. His voice was gentle but cautious. "Thanks so much, Victoria. I promise to love you, and only you, forever." But deep inside, his mind was racing. The grand event hall was filled to the brim with friends, family, business associates, and well-wishers from home and abroad. The buzz of the day was louder than ever. Adrian Cole, the young billionaire, was about to marry an even wealthier woman, Victoria Kingsley, the only heiress to the Kingsley Empire, one of the richest families in the country. Cameras flashed, glasses clinked, and whispers filled the air. "Adrian is truly lucky. He's marrying into the Kingsleys. This wedding is the deal of the century. Imagine the empire these two will build together." Then the moment everyone had been waiting for arrived. Adrian Cole strode confidently into the hall, looking as sharp as ever in his designer tuxedo. The crowd erupted in cheers, applauding the groom, whose face was glowing with a mixture of excitement and pride. He acknowledged their cheers with a polite nod, then took his seat, eagerly waiting for his bride. But then, minutes passed, then an hour, then two, no bride. The whispers turned to murmurs, and the murmurs turned to full-blown panic and confusion. Adrian's smile had long vanished, replaced by visible frustration. Victoria's parents sat stiffly, their phones glued to their ears as they tried to reach their daughter, but her phone wasn't ringing. It was switched off. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Just as the murmurs reached their peak, the entrance doors swung open, and in walked a woman. But not the bride in a dazzling wedding gown. No. She was dressed in a cleaner's uniform, dragging along a bunch of office files and photo frames. The hall fell into complete silence. All eyes turned to her as she marched straight to the podium. Adrian, who had been restlessly tapping his fingers on his chair, looked up, and when he saw her, his face twisted in shock. "Sharon." His voice echoed in the hall. He quickly stood up, his expression switching from confusion to anger. "Why are you here dressed like that? And what the hell are you doing with those files and frames?" Sharon gave a knowing smile before speaking loudly enough for everyone to hear. "I am here to save Victoria from you, before she makes the biggest mistake of her life by saying I do." Gasps filled the hall. Adrian's face darkened with rage. "Are you out of your mind? Get out of here before I have you arrested." Sharon chuckled mockingly. "Oh, Adrian, how fast you are to throw threats. I only want to save Victoria and her family from your doom." Mr. Kingsley, Victoria's father, had had enough. He signaled to the police officers standing nearby. "Get her out of here. We don't need insane people disrupting this gathering." The officers quickly moved towards Sharon, ready to drag her out. Adrian crossed his arms and smirked coldly. "Oh, and by the way, Sharon, you're fired." But then she laughed, not just a normal laugh, a scornful, victorious laugh. The kind of laugh that made the entire hall go silent again. Then she looked straight into Adrian's eyes. "Oh, Adrian, don't be too fast. Because you, my dear groom-to-be, are under arrest for attempted murder." Boom. The entire hall exploded into chaos. Adrian's smirk instantly disappeared. His mouth opened slightly, his hands stiff at his sides. Mr. Kingsley and his wife gasped in horror. "What?" Before anyone could react further, Sharon reached up. She removed her oversized cap. Then, she pulled off the old, cheap wig covering her face. And there, standing before them all, was not Sharon the cleaner, but Victoria Kingsley, the missing bride. The hall erupted into loud gasps and stunned murmurs. Adrian stumbled back a step, his face drained of color. Victoria. His voice came out barely above a whisper. Victoria crossed her arms and smirked. Surprise, darling. The hall was so silent you could hear a pin. All eyes were locked on Victoria, the missing bride, the wealthy heiress. And now, the woman in the cleaner's uniform standing at the altar on her wedding day. Adrian still stood frozen in place, his face pale as a ghost. His father, Mr. Thomas Cole, shifted uneasily in his seat. Mrs. Cole gripped her purse tightly, her expression unreadable. Meanwhile, Victoria's parents looked like they had just seen a ghost. Mr. Kingsley rubbed his forehead. Mrs. Kingsley, she was fuming, and the guests. They were in full drama mode. This is better than a movie, someone whispered. Victoria took a deep breath and raised her voice, making sure every single person in that hall heard her clearly. When I told my parents that I wanted to marry someone who genuinely loves me, someone who doesn't know my background or my worth, they refused. She glanced briefly at her father, who was looking away, suddenly very interested in the chandelier. They wanted me to marry someone from their class, someone they trusted. Victoria's voice dripped with sarcasm as she emphasized the word trusted. Then, she turned to Adrian, who had yet to recover from his shock. Dad, Mom, I had to go undercover to study Adrian. I needed proof. I disguised myself as his personal office cleaner so I could move around freely and get my hands on evidence. Mr. Kingsley rubbed his forehead, struggling to process everything. Mrs. Kingsley. She looked like she was about to collapse. Adrian was visibly shaking. His father, Mr. Cole, grabbed a glass of water from the table and gulped it down. Victoria continued, her voice sharp. And I was right. My instincts never failed me. She stepped forward and pointed directly at Adrian and his father. Mr. Cole and his son, Adrian Cole, planned to assassinate our entire family a week after the wedding. The crowd exploded. What? This is crazy. Are they criminals? Mr. Kingsley jerked up from his chair. Mrs. Kingsley clutched her heart. Adrian's mother, Mrs. Cole, let out a dramatic gasp and nearly fainted. Adrian shot up from his seat. Lies, she's lying. Victoria smirked. Oh, I wish I were. She lifted a small flash drive from her pocket and waved it in the air. I have recordings. I have documents. I have everything. Adrian staggered backward. His father, Mr. Cole, grabbed his wife's shoulder and whispered something urgently in her ear. But Victoria wasn't done. She turned back to her horrified parents. Adrian wants to inherit all our assets. They've already prepared the property transfer documents. Mrs. Kingsley clamped a hand over her mouth. Mr. Kingsley's eyes darkened. So that's why he was rushing the wedding, he muttered under his breath. But Victoria wasn't finished. She turned back to the shocked audience. And guess what? Adrian's fiancée is also part of the plan. Another round of gasps. Mrs. Cole's eyes widened. What? Another fiancée? Adrian's face turned red. Victoria folded her arms. Yes, mommy-in-law. He already has a woman waiting to replace me after my untimely accident. The guests erupted in furious whispers. Unbelievable. How wicked can they be? Adrian clenched his fists. Shut up, Victoria. Victoria grinned. Oh, I'm just getting started. She took a step closer and dropped the final bombshell. Oh, and Dad, Mom. I caught Adrian red-handed in his office, once with his mistress. The hall fell into stunned silence. Mr. Kingsley's hands balled into fists. Mrs. Kingsley turned to Adrian, her eyes blazing. You, little. Adrian looked like a man drowning in his own sweat. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Victoria crossed her arms, raising an eyebrow. "Well, Dad, Mom, do you still want me to go ahead with the marriage?" A thick silence fell over the hall. Then, Mrs. Kingsley burst into tears. She ran to Victoria, grabbing her hands. "No, my daughter, please forgive us, and thank you for saving our family." She pulled Victoria into a tight embrace. Mr. Kingsley, looking both furious and relieved, nodded. "You were right, Vicky. We should have listened to you." Meanwhile, the police were already moving toward Adrian and his father. Mr. Cole jumped to his feet. "You can't arrest me. I'm Thomas Cole." The police officer smirked. "Exactly. And you're under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy, and fraud." As the officers dragged him away, he shouted, "This isn't over. You'll regret this, Victoria." Victoria smirked. "Oh, I highly doubt that." Well, Adrian was shaking like a leaf. As the police cuffed him, he turned to Victoria, his voice desperate. "Vicky, please. I can explain." Victoria tilted her head. "Oh, you mean how you plan to kill me, steal my family's fortune, and marry your real fiancé? That explanation." Adrian opened his mouth, but the officers dragged him away before he could speak. As they disappeared from the hall, Victoria sighed dramatically and turned back to her parents. "Whew. Well, that was quite a wedding, wasn't it?" The audience burst into laughter. Someone cheered, someone clapped. And just like that, Victoria Kingsley had not only saved herself, but her entire family. 1 month later, Victoria Kingsley, dressed in a breathtaking wedding gown, stood at the altar, her eyes sparkling with joy. Beside her was the man she had chosen for herself, the so-called lowlife her parents once dismissed. But today, he wasn't a nobody. He was the man who had loved her for who she was, not for her wealth, not for her status. As the priest said, "You may now kiss the bride," the crowd erupted in cheers. Victoria's mother, Mrs. Kingsley, wiped happy tears from her eyes. Mr. Kingsley, who once opposed the union, now looked at his son-in-law with respect. "You've proven yourself, son. Welcome to the family." Victoria turned to the guests, raising her bouquet high. "Now, this is the wedding I actually wanted." The audience burst into laughter and applause. And just like that, Victoria Kingsley married the love of her life and lived happily ever after.
Hello, besties! What are your takeaways from this story? Please share them with us in the comments section. We'd love to hear your thoughts. There are even more interesting stories waiting for you on this channel. Check the description below for the links to those videos. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and become part of our amazing community.
Thank you so much for watching. God bless you all. I love you.